presentation is going to be on retention and attraction of
employees,
corrections officers, and police officers.
It's difficult.
It's difficult nowadays because everybody's hiring.
Muskegon Heights is hiring.
Muskegon Heights is hiring. Norton Shores is hiring.
Muskegon City's hiring.
Muskegon City's hiring.
Ludington's hiring.
Ludington's
Mason
hiring.
County's hiring.
Mason County's hiring.
You got Scottville that's going to be
hiring some police officers hopefully.
And
across the state,
it's
where you go.
Police officer,
when they get hired, you got to send them for a psychological test, a drug test, a physical, and then you got to equip them and
fly
their uniforms and their gun belts, and those cost thousands of dollars.
And these
smaller agencies are a stepping stone
for
these new recruits. They want to get their license. You go through the police academy. You're certifiable by MPOLS. Until you get that job, then your license starts. And you got
that's the important.
You got a year to get a job. Now it's not a big deal. But in these academies, they're teaching the employees the
nuts and bolts that
really didn't matter before. Wages and pension. Defined benefit versus a defined contribution pension. Employers are realizing that that's an issue, and they're trying to make the defined contribution a little bit more attractive.
Mecosta
County just increased theirs. Defined contribution where the employer's paying 14%, the employees are paying 7%. Nuevo County
is not complete
yet, but they're increasing their defined contribution
with a match,
and it's going to be up to 18-19% total in order to
make it more attractive for
these officers when they go to take these jobs and show them there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There's many fixes.
City of Kentwood did a $30,000 retention bonus that the officers got to stay up to 3 years. If they leave before the 3 years, they have pay a prorated portion back to the city.
A lot of
municipalities gave their ARPA money as bonuses to law enforcement officers. Ionia County, which is going to be in our comparables. It's a smaller county down near Grand Rapids, between Grand Rapids and Lansing. In the next 2 years, they'll be up 30% for the past 5.
From where they were.
The employer gave us 13% across the board increase 2 years ago, and we just signed a letter of understanding for an additional 6% to the top wage. It's there. That's 19% that the employer has given without the union asking for it.
So in this
packet is a letter that I put basically about the stuff that I just talked about.
The
second part shows the labor contract that you can read and see what the issues are. Section 3 shows you how many corrections deputies we have, sergeants, road patrol deputies, detectives, and the office manager. It shows what they're currently making as we speak today.
The second page is
what they would be making under my proposed wage increase.
And then
the third page shows what that increase would cost the county.
It's a large number.
It's a large number. I'm not gonna
lie to you.
I'm shooting for the sky on it. But
that doesn't mean that we
can't sit down and talk about how we paint a picture for Oceana County that will help us attract and retain employees.
The fourth section is a
wage study that I did.
There's a lot of departments
that are close by. Some of them are out. They're shooting for the sky. I got Kent County in there. They're making over $40 an hour. The state police, the DNR, they're all making over $35 an hour. But if you look, Hart Police right here. If the county seat is $32 an hour, we used to be making more than Hart Park
If
City.
you go a little bit south,
If you go a little bit south, you got Montague, Whitehall, Norton Shores, they're all over $30 an hour. They're over $32 an hour. Fremont PD did a,
That would be to the east.
that would be to
They're
the
over
east,
$32
they're over
an
$32
hour.
an hour.
Ludington's
Ludington's
over
over what we're making.
Newaygo County.
Newaygo County, currently is there, and I know they're looking at, I believe it's a 4% raise for next year, which is gonna drive them even higher than what we are.
Muskegon County Sheriff.
Muskegon County Sheriff's,
Look,
if you,
there's a lot
look,
of them.
there's a lot of them, and I added Ionia in
They
there.
were at like.
They were at like
$26 an hour.
$26 an hour
4 years ago.
4 years
They're now up
ago.
over 30.
They're now up over 30 now.
And the second page of
And
that shows.
Second
where
page of that
the officers
shows
are
where
going.
the
We had one
officers
go
are
to
going.
Mid-
We had one go to
Midland
Midland County Sheriff's Office on the other side of the state. One went to Kent County, one went to Mason County. Mason County is a little bit lower than we are, but they have a defined benefit pension.
Which is a very attractive.
Which is a very attractive
Thing to have.
thing to have.
Brown, Farmer.
Brown,
and Priest,
Farmer,
they're gonna be
and
retiring
Priest,
here.
they're gonna be retiring here,
Three more people.
and we're gonna be short 3 more people.
Canco and Charlotte.
Canco and Charlotte, just,
They're either leaving or have left.
they're either leaving or have left, they went to DNR and the state police.
That's where our people are going.
That's where
They're going for
our
these
people are going, they're going for these
Bigger
bigger,
wages and better pensions.
bigger
Kent County
wages
has
and
a
better pensions.
full
Kent
pension.
County
I know
has
I'm
a
drawing it.
full pension, I know I'm drawing it.
A 2.5
I'm drawing
multiplier
a
after
2.5
my
multiplier
25 years.
after my
The state
25
police
years
have a
there.
hybrid
The
pension.
state police have a
And they
hybrid
put money
pension,
into,
and they put money into, the healthcare savings account
the pension
on top of the pension part.
The
of
next
it.
section are.
The next section
basically some
are
articles I found online.
basically some articles I found
For
online,
reading,
for reading,
trying to understand
and
the
trying to
crisis
understand the crisis that
with-
we're in,
with law enforcement.
with
And
with
when I
law
say law
enforcement.
enforcement,
And when I say law
corrections
enforcement, I mean corrections and for
Because
road patrol.
we're having a hard time
Because
finding
we're
both.
having a hard time finding both.
It's kinda one of those things.
It's
I'm trying to get
kinda
out
one
in
of
front
those things I'm trying to
I
get
know
out
we're
in front of
under
it.
contract, but
I know we're
I'm
under
trying to
contract, but
make it
I'm
better
trying
for you to be
to
down
make it better if you're
another
gonna be
3
down
road patrol people,
another 3 road patrol people
within the next year.
within the next
And
year, let's say.
If you're only
And
getting one or
if
two
you're only getting
applicants or
1 or 2
stuff like
applicants or
that, the housing crisis.
stuff like that,
is
the
another
housing
thing you gotta
crisis
throw into it.
is
You
another
gotta
thing
look
you gotta throw
where
into
these
it. You
guys
gotta
are
look at
living.
where these guys are
And
living.
they can buy housing.
And if they can buy
We want
houses
them
up
to move
here.
to Oceana County.
We want them to move to Oceana County.
My wife and I.
My
are
wife and I
joint owners on a
are
house
joint owners on a house over
west of Shelby.
just east
So-
of, or west of Shelby.
I mean,
So,
I have a vested interest.
I mean, I have a vested
in law
interest in,
enforcement up here.
law enforcement up
Because I
here.
wanna be protected.
Because
2
I
nights ago,
wanna be
there was a party
protected.
on
2
the
nights
beach.
ago, there was a party on the
Probably over
beach
80
with
people down there
probably
with a
over 80
bonfire.
people down there with a bonfire, and I
There's
want to
gonna
know
be a police
that
officer coming.
there's gonna be a police officer coming.
I want him to be brown, I don't want him.
I want him to be brown, I don't want him to be blue.
You know, with the sheriff's office, not the state.
You know, with the sheriff's office, not the
These
state
guys are
police.
taking calls.
These guys are
everywhere.
taking
Pentwater,
calls
Shelby,
everywhere, Pentwater,
Hesperia.
Shelby, Hesperia,
And,
and,
maybe there's gonna be another one.
maybe
in there.
there's
They're
gonna be
not
another one in there.
24/7.
They're not a full 24/7
These guys
police
are covering the
department.
whole county.
These guys are
The state
covering the whole
police
county.
isn't 24/7.
The state police isn't a 24/7 police department in
So
this county.
the sheriff's office is.
So the sheriff's office is
the prime law enforcement officer.
is the prime law enforcement officer
For the county.
for
And I think
the
that they
county,
should be paid
and I
as
think
such.
that they should as such.
Again, I know the
Again,
ask is
I know the ask is
and
big,
I don't expect,
and I don't
the
expect,
board to
the board to
vote on it today. but
vote
if
on
you're
it
gonna
today,
vote
but
yes,
if you're
then
gonna vote yes, then please
But I'd
do.
like to be able
But
to
I'd like to be
come
able
back
to
another day
come
and
back
sit
another
down
day
and talk
and
about
sit down
how
and
we
talk
can
about how we
make
can
Oceana County
make
a better
Oceana
place
County
to work.
a better place to work and live,
for your law enforcement.
for your law enforcement people.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, sir. We've got.
Yes, sir.
We've lost 5 through attrition, and Scotty's leaving, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
We just
yep,
got him.
We just got him.
Yep. Got another one, just took the civil service exam from the state police.
Yep.
So we're short-staffed.
So we're
again.
short-staffed again.
Just, we did pick up one new guy, he's in field training, but he's brand spanking new.
The way things have been
And
changed.
the way things have been changed, now, guys can come to work without, they can go to the academy. A lot of them come to the academy with, whatever pre-existing education they have. And they haven't had even an internship. Our new guy. So, our new guy, he's 31 years old, he's not having even an internship for experience-wise, to bring that to the table. So, when I say he's green as grass, he is green as grass. You know, he's 30 years old.
We're not gonna steal anybody from Hart, we're not gonna steal anybody from anyone.
That was used to be the feeder process.
Yeah, yeah.
Just about everybody around here in the room, a lot of us started off in Hart. Dan Lineback certified, he was so good about certifying guys through the years. And a lot of us came through Hart and Shelby. And,
Well, that's not happening.
well, that's not happening.
How are we doing in Hesperia? How are we doing in Hesperia?
So, we're covering
some shifts.
We're covering some shifts along in the Waco County.
We're splitting
You know,
shifts
so
over
we're
there.
splitting the shifts over there.
When we're there.
No, when we're there, the guys are real active, there's always business to be done.
But we are getting some.
But we are getting some overtime shifts over there as well.
But,
You know, we've got
a few guys.
a few guys and we're spread thin right now.
Tim,
Yes, sir.
we have very honorable people in our sheriff's department.
Very valuable people in our
That's
sheriff's
why I'm here.
department.
That's why I'm here.
We
wanna keep them.
and-
We wanna keep them.
And I understand, Tim, and,
I think it's,
I think it's,
we need to take a look at.
we need to take a look at what you presented.
I think
I think
that we had a
that
start.
we had a start
When we did the letter of
when we did the
understanding
letter of understanding
on the
on
entry level.
the entry level,
for the,
you know, for the people in the department.
The lateral transfer.
The lateral transfer.
Yeah, the lateral transfer.
Hopefully,
Hopefully,
we can come up with
we
something.
can come up with something
that we can work with.
that we
on
can
a
work
similar
with
to that,
on a similar to that.
Instead of opening the whole
Instead of
contract.
I don't know if
contract.
I don't know open the whole contract. I wanna do a letter of understanding.
You wanna say,
Just so-
but just so
Your guys understand.
you guys
know,
understand, you know.
Not understand, that's a
Not
different
understand,
word.
that's a course
Just
word.
for some
Just
information.
for some
you guys.
information for you guys.
It's not only law enforcement.
Not only law enforcement.
I sit on,
I sit on,
Community Mental Health Board.
Community Mental Health Board.
A week ago Tuesday,
A week
we
ago
had a meeting
Tuesday,
at
we had a
Community
meeting
Mental
at the
Health Board
Community
up in
Mental Health Board up in Ludington.
And the community,
And
one of the
the
things
community,
on the
one of the
agenda
things on the
was
agenda
hiring
was the
and
hiring and
retention
retention of employees.
Community mental health.
Community mental
is
health
down 14
is down
employees right now,
14
and they can't
employees
get
right
any
now, and they can't
applicants.
get any applicants.
And last
Friday,
the personnel committee.
the
for
personnel
District 10
committee
Health
for District 10
Department
Health
and
Department and Cadillac,
which I sit on the personnel committee along with
board
from,
chairs from three other counties, so there's four board chairs that are on it.
Ten
It's a
county,
10 county,
consortium.
consortium.
And Mr. Erickson sits
And
on it with
Mr.
me.
Erickson sits on it with me.
The agenda on that meeting.
agenda on that
was
meeting
on
was
a
on
weight
a
scale.
weight
that has been
scale
proposed from
that
a
has been
consultant
proposed
out
from a
Denver,
consultant out of Denver,
Any
Colorado.
other item on the,
Any other item on the agenda
for the District 10
for
Health
the
Department,
District 10 Health Department was
hiring and retention
hiring and retention
of employees.
of employees.
They're down 30
They're down
employees
30
right now.
employees right now.
240
There's
people that work
240
for
people that
District 10
work for
Health
District 10
Department.
Health Department, we're down 30 employees. And
The other
chairs were talking
about their sheriff's
about their
departments.
sheriff's departments.
And every one of them
And
is
every
down
one of them is down three or more employees.
So if we're going to do
if
something.
we're going to do
We
something,
need to get.
we need to
very
get
progressive.
very progressive.
You do,
And we
and
need
you
to
do,
look at
and
And we need to
and
look at it,
do
and we
something
need to do
that's
something that's
That much better.
that much
than
better
what the other counties
than what
are
the
doing
other counties are
in
doing.
order to make
in order to
Oceana
make
County
Oceana
the
County
go-to place.
the go-to
if you
place.
want wages from any other department,
I'll
ask and I'll get them for
You
you.
know,
And-
and
Wages have to be looked
wages
at.
have to be looked at.
It's only one part of the.
It's only one part of the
It's
fix.
only one
Maybe
part,
there's
maybe
some
there's some other things we can
Maybe
do.
there's some other things.
Maybe there's some other
Kim,
things.
you and I have been in this.
Kim, you and I have been in this
business
business.
for a long time.
I and I didn't wanna throw out all the different areas, we can do defined contribution increase, we can look at a MERS, hybrid pension options, there's many options, I just wanna get to the table with you guys, and you mentioned mental health.
They're short 14
They're short 14 mental health people, where's that fall? It falls on these guys.
These guys are the ones getting.
These guys are the ones getting called to it, and they don't.
They're
we're not
training
trained.
Training
that
now.
they wanna train
That they wanna
all
train
licensed
all
police officers in
licensed police
Michigan
officers in Michigan
to be the stopgap
stopgap
for mental health.
for mental health.
You know, you know, I understand.
I understand.
You wanna know.
You wanna know.
Symptoms, and you wanna know how to
symptoms, and you
react.
wanna know how to react.
I'm not so sure
I'm not
that
so sure that
if I had police officers.
if I had
working
police
for me
officers
anymore,
working for me anymore, I would want them to be mentally
No,
ill.
and-
No, and we don't have the time it takes to
deal with somebody like
deal
that.
with somebody like that.
Let alone the experience.
Let alone the experience or patience.
When
we move on with this.
we move on with this,
I just wanna say that.
I just wanna say that I
there is an
recognize
issue,
there is an issue,
and I
and
don't have the answers to that issue.
No, we gotta work on it.
No, we gotta work on it together, Mr. Walker.
Maybe there
Can be
can
some dialogue.
can be some dialogue.
Absolutely.
And
You and the
you
people that you
and the people that
represent
you represent
can come up with a
proposal that we can live with.
Well, I
and
think-
make it better.
Well, I think,
I don't know what you can do.
I don't know what you can.
That's
do.
why we gotta have
That's why we gotta have dialogue, see where we
can be.
where we can be.
You know, I
presented something as a one issue fix. There could be many different issues that we try to attack. And I'm not asking you to open up the whole contract, I don't wanna do it. My goal is how to retain and attract employees here.
And how we do that.
And how we do that is gonna be a joint issue.
And I'm sure the people
And
that
I'm
you
sure the people
represent
that you represent
have their own
have their
thoughts on what the
own
issues are.
thoughts on
I'm
what
sure
the
they've
issues
shared
are, and
them
I'm
with
sure
you.
they've shared them with
And if
you.
you can
And if you
qualify
can
that,
qualify
and
that,
share with us
and
without
share
giving
with
away
us
the whole
without
ship.
giving away the
Yeah.
whole ship.
Oh, I get it.
It'll give
Oh,
us
I
some-
get it.
it'll
It'll give us
a
something,
direction
it'll
to
give
go.
us a direction.
Well,
to go.
Well, I wanted to give you a direction with this, but I think too, is the open dialogue between,
the county administrator.
the county administrator and,
whoever sits on the
whoever sits on the negotiating
sit
committee,
down
we can sit down
and have a conversation.
and have a
where to
conversation
go
of
from here.
where to go from here.
As long as we're on the
As
same
long as
page
we're on the
of
same
attracting
page
and
of attracting and
employees,
retaining
and knowing
employees,
we gotta do
and knowing
something,
we gotta do something,
That's the start.
that's the start.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely,
Definitely, there's an issue. We have an issue. It's not caused by anybody in this room, but it's an issue that we have to solve together.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, I'm up for seeing what the options are and then deciding on those. My few questions that I, you know, just a little digging that I did, like, so these are millennials that we're trying to hire, right?
So what motivates
millennials?
Just did a little bit of.
Searching, searching, typing, and,
Generally
generally
speaking.
speaking, it sounds like,
I'm not saying that.
wages isn't something to look at, but it sounds like it's more than there's more to it than just wages, so we need to look at everything.
Including wages.
Including wages.
And
see, what all we have on the table to help motivate these guys, like Chairman Walker said, put us just a little bit above the other counties, like what can we do to make them feel the most appreciated of any,
county around here.
I would like to know defined contribution numbers and like past numbers and defined benefit costs, actuals, and then even looking into the future, just to get some
Hard numbers for
how much, where we are right now, where we have been for the last 10 years, and
where we're projecting for the next
where we're
10
projecting for the next 10 if we stay status
And then
quo.
if we make little tweaks,
And then if
where
we
would
make
that
little
put us?
tweaks, where would that put us?
I think that would be.
Important information to gather.
Put it on the table.
And
Tim,
put it on the table.
if
Tim,
you are in a
if you are in a
defined
defined
benefit or
defined
contribution,
contribution,
you
you
cannot
cannot
change
change
from
from one to the other, is
Well,
that
yeah,
correct?
You guys voted to close the defined benefit.
So you can't go back.
So you
with-
can't go back with,
I'm gonna quantify this.
I'm gonna
MERS
quantify
sucks.
this, MERS sucks.
They are hard to deal with.
They are hard to deal with.
Their rules change
Their
every
rules
day.
change every day.
Sometimes when you set.
Sometimes when you set your
contribution,
defined contribution,
they're
they're telling you you can't change it.
Counties are doing.
But counties are doing it.
And why would they take?
And why would they
Why would
take-
they say no, you can't?
Why would they
put
say
more
no,
money
you
into
can't
it,
put more
and
money into it and make their pot bigger?
But what you
Uh,
can do.
but what you can do, you can go to a hybrid pension.
Where you have.
Where you have
defined
part
benefit,
defined benefit, part
contribution.
defined contribution.
Millennials,
millennials, they want time
Yes,
off.
that was one of the things.
Yes, that was one of the things I
They,
read.
they
from
want,
two different
they want time
articles.
off, and we're in a position where
Time off costs more people.
time off costs more
You
people.
know, you need more bodies.
You know,
to
you
do
need
that.
more bodies to do that.
I'd love to give them more time off.
I'd love to give them more time off, give us more
There's
bodies.
a lot of
There's
discussion,
a
and
lot
I
of
think
discussion, and I think
This meeting's not a.
this meeting's not a
place
good
for dialogue.
place for dialogue.
Right,
This
right.
meeting was to.
This meeting was to
bring to your attention. that
bring to your
we wanna
attention
discuss
that
it.
we wanna discuss it.
You're under no obligation.
You're under no
because we're under
obligation
contract,
because we're under
but
contract.
We're trying to
but
fix a problem.
We're trying to
I
fix
have
a problem.
employers coming
I
to
have
me
employers coming
all
to
the
me
time with trying to
all the
fix-
time with trying to fix
problems and
fix
they're
problems
throwing money at their
and they're
employees
throwing
to
money
try
at
to
their
keep them.
employees to try to
I
keep
have a
them.
small agency
I have a
down
small
in,
agency
Van
down
Buren
in
County
Van Buren
where we
County
were under contract
where we
for
were
a
under
2%
contract for a
increase.
2% wage increase.
They
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 sent me a letter of understanding increasing that 2% to 10%.
And how can you say no to
And
that?
how can you say no to that?
And, you know, and I'm not gonna go back and
You know,
say
and
I
I'm not
want
gonna go
12.
back and say I want 12.
It just doesn't.
Just doesn't make sense.
Your defined contribution.
Your defined contribution, pension is.
If the employee puts in
If the
six,
employee puts in 6, the employer puts in 6.
So it's a max.
So it's a
We max at
12,
6.
you max at 6.
I have employers.
I have employers,
Costa County. is my
Costa
largest
County
right
is
now.
my largest right now, is they
They're
max,
14.
they're at 14.
And then the employees are.
And then the employees are putting
Six
in
or
6 or 7, I believe, it makes it 21.
Newaygo County.
Newaygo County, they increase the employer's match.
They increase the
They
employer's
increase the employer's contribution, and then they match up to a certain amount. That's not been fully ratified, but it's been TA'd.
The AMC for the defined contribution, is that 2.5 or?
Your FAC.
Your FAC, I believe, is a 2,
Is a 2.5.
is a 2.5
What's
It's,
the
it's your final average
compensation.
compensation.
So you take
2.5
2.5 and times it by your years of service, comes up with a percentage, and that's what your
And-
I use myself. as-
I'll use myself as an example. I retired at 25 years at Kent County with a 2.5 multiplier. I was at 62.5%.
Kim, and is it based on the best 5 or the best 3?
I believe yours is.
I believe yours is best 3.
So there's not much.
And the reason I asked that
And the
is
reason I
just
asked
as
that
an
is
example of
just as an
something that we
example
could
of something that we could possibly look at, but
already
if
can't
they're
look at.
already, we
But you
can't
can
look
look
at
at
it.
a.
But you can look at the hybrid
In order
pension
to do it.
in order
That's
to
gonna
do it.
attract
And that's gonna
people
attract
because
people
they're looking at
because
pensions.
they're
I
looking
still
at
have
pensions.
employers
I
that
still
are
have
wanting
employers
to
that are wanting
get
to
rid of their defined
get rid of
benefit,
their
but I also
defined
have
benefit, but I also got
employers
employers wanting to get back into it.
And how to do that.
And how to do that.
And,
There's
no
really
way to,
no way to
get back into it unless MERS
get back into it unless MERS changes their rules. At our convention this year, the MERS rep was there, and it's something they're considering because they're getting people asking to open that back up. But I just don't know how that's gonna work.
Well,
It probably won't be in my.
It probably won't be in my lifetime.
And as Undersheriff Scheller realizes because we both work for Ludington Police Department, they have their standalone
Yeah,
pension system.
they're a home rule
Yeah,
system.
they're a home rule system.
Yeah, it's 348. And they can make adjustments because there are 2 police officers, active police officers on that 5-person board.
I came from
I came from a system like that too.
Yeah.
I mean, in another.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you.
Good, okay, another.
Good,
cast
okay,
number
another
on one
cast number on
like,
one percentage, like.
I'm not a big fan of going.
I'm not a
back
big
to
fan of
defined
going back to defined
because
benefit, just because
it's tough.
it's tough, once you dig that hole, it's tough to get out.
But defined contribution.
But defined contribution, what is
the percentage?
what does the percentage of
of
match need to be
in order for
it to be a healthy retirement in 30 years?
Depends what the stock market.
But I think if we
Right,
average it
but
out,
I think if we average it out,
you know,
7.5%, you know, like that's how actuaries usually do that, from what I
So
understand.
what is that?
So what is that?
What is that percentage?
You know, what does
need to
that
be?
percentage need to be?
And I'm not saying we need to.
And I'm not saying we need to figure that out right now. I'm not asking for any, I'm just something that I think we need to.
And I think MERS probably has some number that they have. My Mecosta County negotiations was done last year, and the increase in the defined contribution came from the employer because their employee went to the MERS seminar and it needed to get bumped up.
I don't know what that number is.
I don't know what that number is, it all depends where you put your money.
You know, I started my.
You know, I started my 457 plan with Kent County when I started, and I was putting away, when I retired 25 years, I was putting away about $16,000 a year into it. And I had $850,000 in my 457 plan. It's like a 401k, it's all money.
But would that be
But
enough?
would that be enough
To live off of that?
to live off of after 25 years?
And that was putting a
And
lot of money
that was putting a
away.
lot of money away.
Towards the end, I
Started off with
$50 a paycheck.
$50 a paycheck, and I was up over almost $800 a paycheck when I retired.
Putting my money away.
Putting my money away into it, planning for my retirement.
Do any of the
departments you're familiar with, do they just
provide a retirement
without even a match from the employees?
Yes.
I mean, there's some that.
I mean, there's some that pay for the full DB pension.
There's some that.
There's some that, you know, there's some employers that don't charge for healthcare, they opt out and they pay 100% of it.
Nuevo County is one of them.
Nuevo County is one of them.
They pay the.
Full 100% healthcare.
There's,
you know,
we talk about.
we talk about
wages,
it's only one
part of the picture.
one part of the picture.
And
when you
compare, you want to
compare apples to apples. And a lot of times you can't because the employers are so different.
We just gotta try to.
We just gotta try to find something that's attractive that's gonna help.
You know, get people
you
to
know,
come here.
get people
We
to
got
come
some
here.
new hires
We got
that
some
are
new
here in
hires that are here in corrections
and on the road
and
patrol.
on the road patrol, but how do we get them to stay when they live,
closer to
you
one
know,
of these
closer to one of these
departments
departments that's also hiring, that
maybe they didn't take them.
maybe they didn't take them because they don't have any experience, but in 5 years, what's to stop them to say, you know what, I'm gonna go work in Muskegon now. I can't find a house in Oceana County to live.
I'm driving.
I'm driving
5 minutes.
45 minutes to get to work.
Roads are bad.
The roads are bad. Why wouldn't I just go to one of these smaller agencies?
They're closer to home.
They're closer to home,
and do that.
and do that. We wanna make it so
These guys wanna come to work.
these guys wanna come to work here.
You know, the
You
opportunities.
know, the opportunities
the
that
employees
the employees
is
have
another one where
is another one where you got the Marine Patrol, you got K-9, you got snowmobiles, you got, you have different options, you now have school resource officers.
These guys aren't gonna
You know, these guys aren't gonna wanna do it for
career.
a career.
You have different opportunities.
You have the different
when you're a smaller
opportunities, when you're a smaller
department.
department, those opportunities are smaller.
Well, that was one of the things.
Well, that was one of the things that, in multiple different millennial studies is the opportunity for advancement. That's what they're looking for, you know, and.
Yeah, there's not a ton of.
There's not a ton of opportunity for advancement here.
There is some.
But
There's some,
But there's some, but
not like-
you gotta,
Not
Or
like
the
Kent
state
County.
police.
or the state police,
There's
or,
so many-
you know, there's so many,
it seems like
I mean,
my
it
son's
seems
a
like
state
my
trooper.
son's a state trooper.
And it
And it seems like
he's in training.
he's in training every
And there's so many opportunities.
because there's so many opportunities they have,
And they're,
they
they will pull a guy off
they
the
will
road.
pull a guy off the road
Send them to training.
to send them to training.
Because there's other agencies.
and
Unlike
unlike
other counties, Kent County.
other
State
counties,
Police,
Kent County
they
State
work the
Police,
highway.
they only work the highway.
Here they're taking law.
Here they're taking law enforcement calls
But if
too.
they're not here.
But if they're not
who
here,
falls back
who
on that?
who falls back on that?
It falls back on these guys.
It falls back on these
Sheriff
guys.
is,
The
you know,
sheriff is, ultimately
ultimately
responsible
taking law
for
enforcement
taking
calls.
law enforcement calls.
You know, there's Montcalm County.
You know, there's Montcalm
who's
County,
also in
who's
there.
also in
They've
there.
got a millage
That
to
got a
hire 14
millage
police
to hire
officers.
14 police officers
5-6 years ago.
5-6 years ago.
They haven't hired them all.
They haven't hired them all
They
yet.
can't get people.
They can't
They
get
have
people.
a defined
They
benefit
have a
pension.
defined benefit pension.
You know, there's
You
places
know,
out there.
there's places out there that
just can't get.
just
the
can't
employees.
get the employees.
So, but again, there's a big picture
there's a
here,
big picture
and
here,
I think
and I think
it's gonna take both
it's
sides
gonna take
to,
both sides to
come up with something.
come up with something that we both can live with.
Mr. Walker.
Tim, I think we can get close to
Tim, I think we
wrapping
can get
up.
close to wrapping up,
But I
and,
have another
but
thought
I
for you.
have another thought
Or a
for you.
question for you.
Yeah, or a question for
Does
you.
either the
Does
POAM
either the POAM or the FOP
have a representative
from Oceana County on MERS?
And if not,
And if
maybe that's
not,
something we need
maybe
to
that's
look at.
something we need to look at.
You know, and that
You know,
should be something
and that
if
should
they
be
go to the
something that if they
meeting,
go to the
we have
MERS
somebody
meeting,
on
if we
there,
have
it's
somebody
on
on
company
there,
time.
it's on company
Yeah.
time.
They go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do.
MERS is a private business.
MERS is a
now.
private business now.
But I'm saying,
But I'm saying
because
that
then
because then they can,
Do you?
No, you have
one of your members on the board.
To attend the meetings. To attend the meetings and stuff. Because the employees would find out how difficult it is, and I'm being tactful here. To work with yours, maybe it'd be worthwhile for us, just to consider.
We know, yeah.
I think what
The information that you brought us,
I find very valuable.
I thank you and I thank
your people you represent, the people from the FOP for being here today.
I think we need just a little while to digest it
and
come up with
an action plan,
how we can work together and move forward.
Absolutely.
Let's do that, and we will come up with something. Talk to the administrator
and have the administrator get a hold of you on what we can do to move forward.
That sounds fair.
And the last thing that I'm gonna say is, it won't be forgotten, we'll push the discussion through.
Donuts again.
Mr. Erickson.
So then I'm looking at
your agency comparison. And will we be late to the party with anything we may decide because there are other agencies in the same situation we are that might come out with a better deal than the one that we think we may have?
Yes.
How many of these agencies have you got going back to their boards or to their city councils to change?
Well, I know
Nuevo is opening their, they're under negotiations right now with the road patrol.
Macasa County isn't.
But,
Like I said, the agency
that gave the 10%,
that put them back up.
in the game. Everybody else found out what they did. They gave a 10% raise and put them right back in the same spot.
This is what I'm feeling right now. We have this problem with the medical care of our nurses. You know, we're having traveling nurses, we're paying a premium. It's created an atmosphere within our RNs that, you know, some people are coming from out of town, they're getting paid more to do this job, and then they're leaving because we can't provide housing, we can't provide the things that we wish we could.
I represent a hospital in Sturgis, so I get that aspect of that whole thing, and my wife's a nurse, she's been with Spectrum Health for 35 years. New employees are coming in doing the same job, making more money than she is. And then they leave, they come back a year later, and they make more money because they can't get people to come in. It's not, this isn't a just law enforcement issue, it's systemic, and you know, I listened to some of the, I didn't listen to the debate last night, I listened to some of the stuff afterwards to talk and try to get the summary, and they say that we're the lowest unemployment rate in history. Where are the employees when you got the fast food restaurants that are begging for people? And everybody across the board is begging for people to come to work. I just don't know where the people are. We didn't have this issue before COVID.
No, just one other thing. You're representing the deputies in corrections in the POA. So the board members know the fraternal order of police represented here. Would you just introduce yourself real quick so the other board members know?
Well, my name is Paul Postal. I am a fraternal order of police labor council and business agent. I represent the lieutenants.
And just recently you did a negotiation or discussion with the city of Ludington and changed their letter of understanding on their promotion to command officers because they had nobody eligible. Was that correct?
Yes, we did.
So it's not anything that hasn't been done right in our neighborhood just recently.
It's happening everywhere. They're all looking for ways to.
Paul, thank you for being here.
And I wanted to recognize you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Thank you very much, Detective Hidema. Thank you. Mr. Curtis, perhaps? I'm sorry.
If I may, gentlemen, Tim, we're gonna go into a workforce development discussion. You will not offend anybody on this board if you have other things that you need to do, or other places to go, if you wanna stay.
You said workforce discussion, I think that might be
If you wanna stay, that's fine, but if we have other things to do, we understand.
We'll get Mr. Beggs his binder over to him. Okay?
Mr. Burdette.
Commissioner Hardy.
Just a little bit about,
Thanks to our officers and sheriff, appreciate the great work you do.
a little bit about this workforce diversity study.
So the commissioners approved this study with a match from the U.S. Department of Commerce EDA, $90,000 project with a 50% match.
And
the purpose of the study was to look at workforce diversification, training, opportunities. A lot of what we just heard specific to what the Sheriff's Department is, but really on the scale of all jobs and looking into the future of Oceanic County.
There was a
focus.
The goals of this were to
do a survey, and so there was a survey done that was open to the public. Hopefully you got a chance to give some input on that. And that came from some talks with the researchers talked to business leaders. They talked to owners of businesses, HR departments, talked to the schools, tried to figure out what the questions they wanted to ask, what things they could dive deeper into, and looking at a lot of training opportunities, finding what jobs are needed, what training would be beneficial, or higher education resources to have within the county border. And so where that leads us to is we have a preliminary report. We have a team that's going to meet again and work with our consultant to come back and help us make sure that we have an action plan, that this report doesn't sit on a shelf, but it continues to live going forward. And so that's where we're at right now. It was supposed to be done already, but with the change in economic development director, my predecessor was running it, and then we ran into trying to interview people with the holidays, and so put things just a little bit behind. And then as we ran into summer, we slowed down a little bit there too. So by the end of the year, we'll have that final report. We'll have a more public introduction to that and explanation of what's there and where we go. So that's what we that's what happened with this. And so I want to tell you a little bit about some of the results that we got. I'm going to give you some bad news that has some really good news with it. So the University of Michigan did a population study looking at the state, looking at each individual county. And Oceanic County is predicted by 2050. So in less than 30 years to drop 8.5% population. And the worst part of that is the 0 to 40 is more closer to 20%. It's about 18.5% drop. And so that would mean 20 years after that, the population is going to drop again if you don't have the young people who are here. And so that's where they looked at, and I had some great conversations with the guy from U of M, because I had some questions. I was like, well, there's other studies that say some other things. And he said, well, just to point out, Oceanic County's doing, here's the good news, doing things well. We predicted, the report came out a few years ago, they predicted in 2020, 2021, smaller increases than what we actually saw. So we saw a higher birth rate. We saw some great things happening in the county, and that's part of the work that the county's done to make great things happen. And part of what we're looking at in this study is how do we solve problems that we're seeing everywhere with whether it's the Sheriff's Department, whether it's private businesses, how do we get people here, and that's kind of dealing with all the different pieces that we deal with. And so getting to the one thing I looked at is, hey, over the past 20 years, how have we compared to surrounding counties with our GDP, with our gross domestic product? How are we doing there? And we're about half of Newaygo County. Now, Newaygo County is expected to see a population increase. In part, they're saying that at U of M because they're seeing that they're a little bit ahead of us on some housing stuff. They're a little bit ahead of us on that GDP. So there's more jobs that brings in more investment and a bigger future. We're in a much stronger position than Lake, and we're pretty competitive with Mason. So they were looking at a little bit less of a decline. They saw a little bit higher increase. And they've got, they've got some different things, and so being able to look at the competitors kind of gives us a chance to look at what, what our surrounding counties, but look at how we can compare, what are they doing well, what are we not doing well, and being able to find some of those opportunities. And in housing, we're competitive there. We're facing the same struggles everybody else is facing. So we know that that's an issue that comes into play. But where we really focused a little bit more was to say, what can we do? We have no higher education facility within the county. We don't have many professional training opportunities. So what type of training do we need? What's going to help us to increase the opportunities within the county, and how could we make that happen? And so they did some analysis to kind of say, hey, well, here's some different options, but ultimately the best option is we partner with the folks that are already existing. So working with West Shore and seeing, hey, can we bring some of these training opportunities into the county? Working with Muskegon Community College. The highest positions right now, the biggest need is CDL, nursing, truck driving, light and tractor trailer, as well as we have a lot of machinery with agriculture. Machinist is in there too, so we need people to be able to work with the machines that we have and be able to do those things. I think there was one more, but anyway, so things we know that we need. I mean, obviously we need a lot of things. As they went through the list to say, here's how many openings, and there's just not enough openings to justify the cost of having specific assets to one thing, but in a partnership with something regionally gives us an opportunity to do that. Having a place where there's an opportunity for maybe some mixed use, where it's used as a training facility or other things. We have the great training room over in the county services building, and so we have some existing places that we could utilize. It's just figuring out those partnerships, and that's going to be something that goes into that action plan to say, we have both community colleges involved in this discussion. The ESD is involved. Several of our school districts have been involved in this from the start. So we've got the right people at the table to kind of look at how can we bring these pieces together. Going back to that survey, the results we found was basically we need it. Universally said yes. We need training within the county. It would benefit us. Transportation is an issue, and all these different things are issues that prohibit people's access to higher education or professional training. And so we were hoping it would pinpoint one specific thing to say, yes, we really want CDL. Yes, we really want nursing. Fortunately, it didn't point to that, but it also tells us that the need is just so high that anything that we could bring in that's going to keep the jobs here within the county becomes a part of that. And so looking at how we can bring those pieces together to make that happen. And that economic diversification piece that it gets to is to say, well, how do we make sure we have our two strongest sectors are tourism and agriculture. So the food processing, the agriculture piece, and then everything related to tourism is just kind of looking at those two are the two biggest buckets that we have. So how can we build on that? I mean, we also have furniture. We've got a couple of companies working with furniture. We have Hometown Pharmacy. So we have that pharmacy retail medical opportunity to build off of as well. So kind of what they talked about is how do we tackle some of these new industries, and so part of it is that pivot from saying, okay, we've got Hometown Pharmacy, what else can we build off of? From that, is there an opportunity to work with some of the machines that they use that lock down the narcotics and the things that you have to have the access code to get into? What are the opportunities to build off of new industries that we have, what's emerging, what can we build into with that. There's some, the state's kind of looking at advanced manufacturing, life sciences and medical devices, mobility and advanced manufacturing, so transportation related. And a lot of focus on tech
and
engineering, and so
part of what they looked at is
how do we kind of bring those pieces here. And what we're also seeing is one of the ways that happens is we have folks who are reinvesting in the community, who are from the community, who've brought pieces of their business into the county with Fiesta Grande up in Pentwater, building and growing their business, growing their distribution with what they're doing up there with Valley City Metal in Rothbury, with the work that they're doing and the future expansion of those facilities, and figuring out how to tackle some of those pieces. As I mentioned before, on October 6th we have a developer day, and part of what that's going to do is bring folks who are interested in development within the county, whether it's housing or industrial or commercial, look at some potential sites, but also look at some projects that we have that show how we have great investment happening in Oceana County that's helping us stay ahead of that curve. We're growing at a time when we were looked at to be going in a different direction, and finding ways to make it easier for folks who have an interest in seeing good things happen in Oceana County be able to do that. Another piece of that is the entrepreneurship. Last week we had a Pitch North competition, which is three different counties involved, and we had two finalists from Oceana County. Our second place winner of the contest was Birch and Blossom from here in Hart, and they're looking to build Michigan-made baskets. And the other was Big Skinny's Pretzels down in Hesperia. And the reason entrepreneurship is important is because those are jobs that didn't exist. So they're creating their own jobs, their own business, and have the opportunity to be the next Dots, which sold, for 5 years ago to Nestle for $1 billion. Excuse me. So anyway, those are the opportunities to figure out how do we get people what they want to continue, and if they build their business here in Oceana County, where are they gonna headquarter? Right where they live. So I think the more that we can tackle all these big pieces at once, that we can make that happen. One other piece that they mentioned that they're seeing in some rural areas is the drone operations, and I don't know if that would fit here, but they're seeing in small communities that because we're a little further away, one of the opportunities that some small communities are able to have is to work with some of those drone pieces, because they don't have the big buildings and all the people around. And so it's something that they threw in as a suggestion to look at, and that kind of takes us into that tech, could be a foothold into bringing some tech in. I mean, I think Chairman Walker talked about being progressive in the last discussion, and I think that's what this effort looks at is how can we find that progress for the community? How can we make sure as jobs change and opportunities change that we can help the workforce to be trained, help find those new opportunities, and those pieces from this study will lead into the team to continue that action plan to make sure that as we can tackle some of these pieces, figure out the goals to find where do we want those resources to go, what should we be looking at making some of those things happen.
That's kind of an overview.
That's kind of an overview of what we'll get when we get to the final report. But I'm happy to answer some questions if there's any questions.
CDLs.
CDLs.
We've got to truck our fruit.
We've got to truck our fruit. We got to get our fruit to market.
And you had talked about mechanics.
And you had talked about mechanics and the mechanics that are in those plants.
It's a whole new process.
It's a whole new process.
We've got to attract and
retain those people just as well as we do our police officers.
Housing
seems to be one of the key problems.
You see it, I know currently, like Shelby Industrial Park and the Hart Industrial Park are basically, I'm gonna say 100% full. Do you see any advantage to doing some type of a county industrial park, or even with the city of Hart or Village of Shelby. Allowing businesses to look, I mean, it's kinda if you build it, they will come. Right now, we don't have any facilities for any businesses to come. In manufacturing or.
Can I interject with that?
Can I interject with that?
Sure.
Maybe we should have those two industrial parks on our county website, so if somebody's looking for an industrial park, it would be firm to the village of Shelby.
But there's no space in either one of them.
Shelby's basically
100% sold out. I think Hart has 2 lots that are totally unbuildable, and the rest of it's full.
So if you want to entice somebody,
I don't know, again, if there's any grants available for the creation of that. But if you have that infrastructure set,
that makes a big difference.
And this would be for engineering or manufacturing or something like that.
Makes it a lot easier.
Makes it a lot easier. Expanding the tourist base here.
We're pretty full.
We're pretty full with
tourists.
With tourists. I mean,
agricultural
again is. I think we've got a lot of land usage dedicated to agricultural. But if you increase the manufacturing side of it or the engineering side of it, but you have to have some place to go. And again, I don't know what government funding is out there available for that. But right now, if I wanted to locate a 100,000 square foot facility in a heavy-duty manufacturing industrial park, I have no place to go.
There is funding.
There is funding for that, absolutely.
I think an opportunity.
I think an opportunity as well, and something that could change the, another thing that could change the trajectory is water has really become a commodity in the West, having moved from the state of Wyoming. They were selling. Hey, we've got the treated wastewater you can use for industrial. We've got 1 million gallons a day that's available, and a lot of communities don't necessarily have something right next to where something can be built. So it is having that industrial park and having that infrastructure, and that's really it used to be when businesses were looking to move, they were asking and they were looking maybe 18 months out, and now it's less than 6. They want they're asking, they want to move, and they want to move now. So having those shovel-ready sites, nobody wants to wait for it to be built and permitted and ready. It is a big deal, and I think that has to be a part of the discussion, and that's a big investment too. There's a reason why private investors aren't building it and waiting, because they're putting a lot of money in and waiting for that to, waiting for that tenant to come in.
There's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee, but people are desperate for sites now. There's just not enough.
Yeah, and I don't know the effect then too, having that industrial park, if that is a pre-qualifier for the IFTs. Basically industrial facility tax exemptions.
I know that Shelby.
I know that Shelby had that. I know that Hart has that, and I think that some of that money came because of the wastewater treatment plants that they put in. That was kind of a combination thing. But again,
that's kind of
a help starter if the IFT is available to companies that want to come in. I know GHSP qualified for the IFT in the Hart Industrial Park. But that's another silver lining, I guess I'll say, to attracting those manufacturing or engineering type facilities.
The state has a lot of tools in the toolbox. Burnett's is putting up a new warehouse in Grant Township, and they've got that into an industrial development district, so now they can apply for a tax abatement and be able to do that on the other end. I mean, we're seeing the states putting a lot of investment into bringing more businesses into Michigan, and so the states work closely with MDARD, the Department of Ag and Rural Development. And the rural development piece is really important. We're all rural, so there's a lot of opportunity to make sure that those resources go towards our communities, so that we're bucking this trend where it looks like we would be declining. And the decisions that have been made in the past have us in a better position than what U of M even thought just a few years ago through COVID. And so I think we're in a good place, but to look to the future, yeah, we have to figure out where are the places, what are the opportunities, is that is that the direction that we want to go?
Certainly, if
we had a site, we could probably get filled. I mean, we got Purdue coming in to, it was a perfect facility for that one, and so. If it's there, man, oh man, it can make a huge difference.
And currently, there's not a lot of spaces like that that are left in the county to be occupied by the larger manufacturing or engineering corporations. It might be something to
Absolutely.
look at.
Absolutely. Well, and the municipal wastewater is a big piece of that too, and so, having Shelby and Hart, where they have opportunities, puts them in a little bit better position, because that's what a lot of them.
Right, and I think, I know Hart has excess space, so, yeah, thank you. Yes. Yes.
Couple things, so Larry Bile is working with Curtis on that developer day, so, we have somebody, we know we can trust and
does good work with that, so
does good work with that, so I'm looking forward to that, I think that's gonna be a great day.
Number two, we do, and
I hit on this last week. Last meeting.
We have workforce
development committee now, that I'm the chair, and Curtis and I are working together with it, with other members. Tammy Carey, Angel Compo, and some other guys and gals.
Really
focusing on this study, and focusing on the future, and what can we do for workforce. So there's a path, we're gonna create a path, at least a map, and then we'll see where that path goes. And then, I hate to end with the kind of the disappointing thing, but
so I'm gonna read
to you just a little section about from
study.
the study. So
the people that
did the survey
and
interviewed all the people, the 20 individuals.
They also interviewed
a group of students.
Two different groups of students.
One thing,
with grain of salt, because
they're 17 and their eyes are wide open, and but this is their perspective. So this is
many students desire to climb the
economic ladder.
So
students felt strongly about leaving
because the economic
mobility they observe, or lack of it, within Oceana County. Many students desire to climb the economic ladder, which is something they see as impossible to do in Oceana County. There are simply not enough jobs available that meet the goals of their students. There can only be so many doctors, lawyers, and so on within the small rural county. One student interested in cosmetology said they were interested in returning to Oceana County to work. They said there was no room, there's room only for so many salons within the county, forcing them to look elsewhere. And so,
as I'm on the workforce
committee, that paragraph is what's gonna motivate me.
I wanna see that
perspective of students in 10 years change, within,
there are opportunities
to move up the economic ladder.
But, it's gonna take some work on our part,
and Curtis has been doing awesome work.
For OCEA,
and for our county, and
see where we go.
Phil, also, we have a great area. If you hear people that move into the area, they go, well, we love the area.
Yeah.
We love the people, we love Lake Michigan, all the different lakes and parks and everything here. So the driving side of that is, again, if you build it, they will come. But in order to do that, I mean, I don't know if Oceana County in the past 10 years has been in a bidding war for any large facility to move in. I've been in a reference like the battery plant down in southern Michigan and that type of stuff, but Purdue.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic. That's a fantastic, that's an ad, but you need more of that kind of thing, because we have the other attributes to go with it. It's a great community. A lot of nice people. That's your draw. If you can have those facilities come in and go, that's your draw.
I mean, unfortunately,
in the ag side of it, well, Peterson Farms fortunately keeps growing, which is fantastic. But on the farming side of it, it has everything, mechanizes and everything else. They're probably at the peak for employable year-round people. But again, on the industrial side of it, engineering side of it,
That will bring the rest of it.
that will bring the rest of it. That will increase school populations, that will increase the housing.
Tax base
you
to
know,
be able to
kind
pay
of-
Tax base to be able to pay our share.
You know,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
it's huge,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, sir, and, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
I
And,
went through this as,
went through
you know,
this
a
as,
college,
you know, a college
student, and,
student,
you know,
and,
Ferris and then
you know,
Central,
Ferris
and then
and
where do you
Central,
go from
and
there?
then where do
You've
you
been
go from there? You've
taught
been
to a career search,
to a
you can
career
get your
search, you
interviews,
can get your
you know, I
interviews,
naturally went to
you know, I
Lansing
naturally
right
went
off
to
the bat,
Lansing
thinking
right off
this
the
might
bat,
be where I
thinking
wanna
this might be where I wanna be.
and soon found
And
out I'd rather
soon
be
found
home
out
on the
I'd rather
farm,
be
so
home on
I
the
came
farm.
back with
So
my
I
farm
came
boots
back with my
back
farm
on, and
boots back
furthermore
on,
wanted
and
to
then
be,
furthermore wanted to
into
be,
banking
you know,
and
into
things,
banking and
but
things,
the opportunities
but the
for
opportunities
me
for
to move
me
home
to move
were so
home
very, very
were
few.
so very, very
Very,
few.
very few, and
Very,
I had to
very
make
few,
my
and I
own
had to
way.
make
I
my
didn't
own
come and
way.
have
I didn't come and have a,
job
you
put
know,
in front of
a
me. I had
job
to
put in
make
front of
my
me. I had to
own way.
make my own
And
way.
kids today,
And
the
kids
ones that we're
today, the
speaking
ones
of,
that
my
we're speaking
sons
of, my
and
sons
others that have gone off
and
to
others
college,
that have gone off to college,
they're exposed to, working from home on a national company and all the benefits and
all
the
the
pay
benefits
scales
and the pay
and
scales
everything involved.
and everything
where,
involved.
when you come back to Oceana County, you've got a 100-day tourist
You're
season.
not gonna have a
You're not
year-round
gonna have a
job
year-round job in tourism unless you own a campground or one of those summer businesses. You're not gonna buy a farm.
You're not gonna buy a
because
farm
those are all
because
priced.
those are all
That's never gonna
priced.
happen.
That's never gonna happen.
You've gotta do it pregnant.
You've gotta do it
make
pregnant.
your
You've gotta
own
make your
way
own
on an
way
industrial
on an
drive.
industrial drive.
We do need to have
we do
more
need to have
of those
more of those
businesses located
businesses
here that will
located
attract
here that will
college
attract
graduates
college
to come
graduates
back. And I know
to come back. And I know Peterson's is pretty much a bedroom community.
Because of the housing
Because of the
crisis
housing
we have, a lot
crisis
of
we
people
have,
coming
a
out of
lot of people
Muskegon
coming out of
North
Muskegon County, North
up to
Muskegon,
Shelby to work
up
and then
to
get on
Shelby
the
to
freeway
work
and
and
fly
then get
back
on the
home.
freeway and fly back home.
You know, we're almost a bedroom
we're almost a
community
bedroom
for
community for
careers.
those careers.
But Purdue is a great
Purdue is a
start.
great
Who's
start.
in,
Who's in the
factory now?
culvert factory now?
It does, you know,
It doesn't, you know,
there's been
there's been opportunities through the years available.
Well, but the proof's in the pudding there, because, you know, when we started the businesses in the Shelby Industrial Park, it was because the Shelby Industrial
Made it
Park
for you
was-
almost.
Made it for you almost. That was the
wanted it.
biggest,
They wanted
the biggest plus, and I think it was kind of the same thing with GHSP here.
Yep.
You have the electricity there, you got the sewer there, you got the water there, you know, you got high-speed
The
internet.
Johnson family
The Johnson family came to me
before
before they
they
turned
turned
one
and asked me
shovel
what
of
I
dirt
thought.
and
I
asked me
went
what I
over
thought.
there
I
with
went
the
over
Johnson
there with the
family and
Johnson
studied
family
the
and
hard
we studied
industrial
the hard
park.
industrial
And the
park.
result of that
And the
is
result of that is
GHSP
GHSP Impact.
You know,
You know,
you gotta have a
you
company
gotta have a
like the
company
Johnson family
like the
that
Johnson
looks at our
family that
small
looks at our
burg and would
small
like
burg and
to
would
settle
like to
here.
settle here.
Well, and with Purdue coming in and everybody else that's here, that even opens the door for other businesses to come in, either in the supply
Yep.
chain side of it.
CDLs.
CDLs,
Whatever,
trucking.
yeah.
CDLs.
Thank you.
CDLs.
Thank you, Mr. Grett. Anybody?
I just think that one small comment here.
And there will not,
And there will not,
do not wanna do this.
do
when
not
the
wanna do
formal
this when the formal
presentation
presentation is done on this.
But I find it
But
interesting.
I find it
that we talk about
interesting
all
that we
the
talk about all of the
interviews,
interviews
things that they did when they
things
were
that they
doing
did
this
when they
survey.
were doing this survey.
Those interviews
to me,
consisted of online
of
surveys.
online surveys.
I get, trust
in-
me, as a
trust me,
chairman,
as a
I
chairman,
get 10 of them a
I
week.
get 10 of them a week.
And they say it's only gonna
And they
take
say it's
15
only
to
gonna
20
take
minutes.
15 to 20
And
minutes.
everyone's from a
And
university.
everyone's from a university.
In the last 2 months,
In
I
the
don't
last
tell
2
them
months,
all
I
anymore.
don't tell them all
I don't
anymore.
have time.
I don't have
Being
time.
in Cadillac.
Being in
3
Cadillac.
Fridays out of the
3
month.
Fridays
this
out of
time,
the month.
Being
this
in
time,
Ludington.
Being
A
in
little bit of
Ludington.
what Bill's
A little bit
talking
of what
about.
Bill's talking
I
about.
don't get home until
I
7
don't get
o'clock
home
at
until
night.
7
I'm not
o'clock at
sitting
night.
there at
I'm
7
not
o'clock
sitting
at
there
night
at 7
on
o'clock
a
at night.
laptop and my
On a
fingers are too
laptop
big
and my
for the
fingers
keys
are too
anyway.
big for the keys
To
anyway.
fill out a survey.
To fill out a survey
You know,
from.
a telephone
A
call.
telephone
and
call.
a discussion.
And a discussion.
Would be a lot
would be
more
a lot more
humanistic to talk to people
to talk
than
to
to send
people
them a
than to
survey.
send them
Because
a
you know
survey
the
because University of Michigan, University of Pennsylvania that I get from, and the University of Wisconsin all the time. They're getting paid big money from their states to do those things.
There's gotta be a better way to do it when you get more accurate information.
Sending out emails, because
one
you have
segment of the
one segment of the
population
population is gonna fill out those surveys,
and it's not a
and it's not a
cross-section
cross-section of the population.
And there were interviews.
And there were interview pieces, over the phone or video conference, and sometime in person.
Of like 20
of like
plus,
20 plus,
and then,
and there, you know, like
superintendents,
business owner, superintendents.
that sort of, and then the students,
that was in person, that we're talking about, they actually came here and met with.
But then there was a survey.
But then there was a survey that you're talking about.
And the students
are the ideal one
are
to
the
do the
ideal
online
one to do
surveys
the online surveys
because they'll
with.
fill them out.
Because they'll fill them out.
Somebody who was out
But if
working.
somebody was out working.
And doesn't have time to.
Doesn't have time to.
Doesn't take.
Doesn't take.
Paul, do you fill out everyone that comes out of the computer to you?
It's almost trash.
It's almost
because
Greg, do you fill them all?
Greg, do you fill them
No.
all?
No.
Once in a while. Once in a while, but not.
If it's related to Oceana County, I do, but.
And I will hold my comments on that, and I'm looking forward to hearing the housing one that Dogwood did, because I think there's some big flaws in that one too. We'll talk about that when it gets presented.
September 27th.
Two
Two quick comments I want to add. So one opportunity, when we talk about millennials and getting young people, about 40,000 of them come into Rockford for a week a year. And while that 1 week, they become a lot of
You sure don't have a very good calculator.
You were out there
when it was 40,000
years ago.
That was 20 years ago. And look at how many more campgrounds there are now than there was before.
But that is a rich opportunity for bringing people, besides the regular tourism that comes in, it is a right way for people to see what goes on in Oceana County. And
just a minute.
And I'm
gonna be sarcastic.
Living on
bordering property, the Double J Ranch.
When the electric force is over,
okay with me if
those
okay with me if those 40,000 go home.
I've got one more comment.
I've got one more comment, though. I've been involved in the tourism industry since
1980.
1978. 1978.
Back then, our college students
stayed
and worked within our own tourist industry
all the way through Labor Day.
We didn't get torn. And I know Craig right now is looking for help right now. We can't fill the slots. We need a survey right now today. Because these kids are all heading back to school now. They've got orientation. They're not moving day. They're not going to the county fair. Football's starting. Football games are up tonight. You know what we've done to our summer
summer
has
help
been horrible
has
because
been
we've
horrible
removed
because
them
we've removed
from the
them
most profitable part of the summer season.
And
I know businesses in Silver Lake are struggling just to get through Labor Day. It's really a shame what the state has done by moving all this before Labor Day. When we waited till after Labor Day before everything began, it was so much simpler.
Michigan Adventure does not pay bonuses to their people summer help unless they work through Labor Day.
Yep. And they can't. A lot of them can't. A lot of them can't because they're going back to state. Checking into their rooms.
When we talk about building off of industries we have, one thing that's come up recently, which I expect to see more of, is the opportunity to. We have all of the food waste, the food scraps and things becomes an issue with wastewater, managing that as it adds nutrients in there. There's a couple companies who've been exploring West Michigan as an opportunity to talk about creating, digester, composter. For creating the methane from that, capturing the methane, being able to use that for on-site electrical production, in partnership with some of our big food processing companies here. And it could be interesting to see if there's.
Proceed with caution on that.
Look at what happened with Gerber.
They put $5 million
and they ran it for less than 2 months. And they have a lot of waste that comes out of their production. And I say that,
when you're discussing that with people, maybe you wanna find out what happened with that.
because
I will ask my friend Julie over in Newaygo.
Because it is closed.
But they're still injecting.
But they're still injecting.
They're still injecting.
They're still injecting.
But they're
Yeah, not the gas.
Yeah, not the gas.
There is a digester at Burnett Foods.
They have one on the west side.
They have one on the west side of the highway.
You've been talking to Lee Islip.
You've been talking to Lee Islip.
Well, there's a couple of companies that are looking.
It was huge, yeah. Anybody else?
Thank you, Curtis.
Curtis, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Administrator Biard, remonumentation, geez.
Remonumentation.
Thank you. Peer group.
We received a letter from,
Mr. Hepworth, yes.
Mr. Hepworth, yes, thank you, regarding the remonumentation peer group, and, has asked us to, ask the board to, approve contracts for, that group, and that's what this is.
And as we all know, that money is paid for by the state through Remonumentation, just a pass-through agency, but it's paid for by the state.
Any other questions? Okay. Ms. Biard, again, agreement for the purpose of property assessment administration for the city of Hartford.
So this is a contract that the county has been in with, previously, the contract's up, and they are asking to renew that contract for assessment services.
Any questions or comments? Great, moving on. Again, administrator's review of selected claims for payment and the administrator's report.
The claims have been provided.
The claims have been provided to you.
Does
anybody have any
questions on those?
Questions on those? And if not, I will move on to report.
I
provided a copy of the administrator's report in the packet, but I did have a few other things that I wanted to,
talk to you about or voice my opinion
as far as you were talking about retirement
earlier,
and wanted to let you know that anything relating to DB, defined benefit, I don't know if that relates to the hybrid portion of it, but I know we cannot open up the DB plan unless it's 100% funded.
Which it is not.
It's at 83.8, I believe, right now. So, I just wanted to point that out. I had a phone call from Mr. Heislip regarding recycling, and he was talking to me about the materials management plan, and if they could get involved in that and be written into the plan. And I explained to him that we had met with several county administrators. They were talking about doing a group materials management plan, and that I would keep him posted on that. So he said that his area is looking to do some sort of recycling in there. They really want to get into that. So
we had some